The church was engulfed in the haunting scent of white lilies, mingling with the dampness of wet clothes, creating an atmosphere thick with unspoken secrets and lingering sorrow. The rain pounded against the towering windows, each drop a desperate plea, a relentless knocking, begging to be welcomed inside. I stood in the doorway, clutching my black umbrella, water cascading down my coat sleeve as every gaze in the room pierced through me like daggers. People shifted on the long wooden pews, their whispers soft yet piercing, like tiny daggers slicing through the air. And there, in the very front row, where my heart yearned to be, not a single space remained, no crevice, no sliver, not even a whisper of room for my little finger to slip through. My husband's coffin lay at the altar, a sombre spectacle of dark brown wood, its heavy silver handles gleaming ominously in the dim light. A solitary candle flickered ominously beside it, casting eerie shadows that danced like spectres in the dim light. But there was no place for me, his wife, in this twisted tale of betrayal. My sister-in-law, Clara, cast a glance over her shoulder, her lips curling into a smile so tight it could shatter glass, devoid of any warmth or sincerity. Her feathered hat, a tempest of elegance, grazed the shoulder of her sumptuous new fur coat as she leaned in, conspiratorially close, to her mother, the air thick with unspoken secrets. They both turned away, abandoning me as my umbrella wept, its droplets splattering against the cold, unforgiving stone floor. A hushed whisper surged like a tidal wave through the throng, a palpable tension hanging in the air. From the shadows, a chilling hiss pierced the silence, sending shivers down my spine. "She's late," a dark cloud looming over the gathering, even though the service has yet to begin. I overheard another whisper. "She mustn't create a spectacle." My heart pounded violently within my chest, yet I stood tall, defiant against the storm brewing inside me. I would not allow them the satisfaction of witnessing my weakness. A haunting memory surged forth, Mark's voice echoing in the shadows of that fateful night, frail yet unwavering. "If they cast you aside, swear to me you'll delve into it on your own." I nodded, my tears brimming, a storm of emotion threatening to spill over. Now those words echoed with a deafening intensity, drowning out even the solemn toll of the church bell above. I stepped forward, each heel click reverberating through the silence like a thunderclap. The pastor, a gaunt figure draped in a sombre grey robe, hesitated, his throat constricting with uncertainty, as the weight of the moment bore down upon him. He flung his arms wide, a grand gesture that beckoned me toward a realm that was nothing but a mirage, a haunting illusion of a place that never was. With a resolve that pierced the air, I declared, my voice steady yet unwavering. Gasps erupted, soaring through the air like startled birds taking flight. In a church where the seats overflowed with the living, it was a rarity for a widow to rise. Yet, I had reached the end of my tether, weary of the empty gestures that would forever elude me. I snapped my umbrella shut, allowing the icy raindrops to pelt my shoes, and strode defiantly down the centre aisle. All whispers fell into an eerie silence. Even the rain appeared to hold its breath. As I approached the front, a sudden halt gripped me beside the vacant lectern, a silent witness to countless readings, its emptiness echoing with unspoken words. My handbag weighed down upon my shoulder, not merely from the luxurious leather, but from the ominous presence of the thick envelope nestled within Mark's final sealed letter, a haunting testament to his last wishes, and the will that no one ever anticipated I would possess. Clara's eyes narrowed, a storm brewing within her as the envelope dared to reveal itself from the shadows. She recognized its form, a haunting silhouette that lingered in the shadows of her mind. Everyone was acutely aware of the family lawyer's unwavering signature blue seal on those official documents, yet she had underestimated my audacity to not only bring it, but to dare to read it in this very moment. The pastor began the service, his voice quivering with an intensity that sent shivers down the spine of every soul present. He uttered words that pierced the air, likening life to a delicate candle, flickering precariously, while death loomed like a merciless wind, ready to extinguish it in an instant, leaving nothing but darkness in its wake. Heads bowed in solemn silence. As I stood there, the candle beside Mark's coffin danced wildly, its flame trembling with every creak of a door or the weight of a heavy sigh that escaped too forcefully. With each breath I counted, the silence stretching, the tension mounting as I waited in the shadows of uncertainty. The pastor, with a heavy heart, beckoned the gathered souls to step forward, urging them to unveil their cherished memories, each one a fragile thread woven into the tapestry of a life now lost. 3 voices pierced the silence, each word dripping with tension. In the dim glow of the streetlights, Mark's old college friend leaned in, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "You won't believe the chaos that unfolded during those late-night pizza runs," he began, eyes wide with the thrill of nostalgia. The air crackled with tension as he recounted the wild escapades, each slice of pizza a catalyst for mischief and mayhem. Laughter erupted, but beneath it lay the pulse of reckless youth, a reminder of nights that blurred the lines between camaraderie and calamity. The stakes were high, the pizza was hot, and the memories? Indelible. His cousin, with a voice trembling in nostalgia, conjured vivid memories of those sweltering summer days spent by the water's edge, rods in hand, laughter echoing through the air as they cast their lines into the shimmering depths, each moment a fleeting treasure of youth and adventure. Then Clara, her eyes glistening with unshed tears, spoke fervently of the unbreakable bonds of family loyalty. Not a single soul uttered my name, as if it were a forbidden secret, lost in the shadows of silence. As the moment of final blessings approached, the pastor's voice rang out, piercing the heavy silence with the announcement of a hymn, a haunting echo of faith in the air. As the crowd surged forward, hands grasping for song sheets, I boldly approached the lectern, heart racing, the air thick with anticipation. My motion flowed with an eerie grace, as if I had practiced it countless times before a mirror, though the truth was far more sinister I never had. The organ's first note hung in the air, a chilling silence enveloping the room as every gaze turned sharply in my direction. I placed my handbag on the polished wood, my heart racing as I retrieved the blue-sealed envelope. With a swift motion, I shattered the wax, the sharp crack reverberating through the cavernous space, a sound that seemed to hang in the air like a portent of what was to come. Clara surged to her feet, her lips twisting into a furious O, a storm brewing in her eyes. The organist's hands trembled above the keys, suspended in a moment of despair, utterly lost in the haunting silence that enveloped the room. "I am Mark's wife," I declared, my voice unwavering, cutting through the tension like a knife. And in a moment, heavy with anticipation, Mark implored me to unveil his final words here, today. As I unfolded the papers, their crisp edges glimmered like ghostly whispers in the shadowy embrace of the dim church lamps. "His will," I declared, "for those who linger in the shadows of comprehension." Murmurs erupted, crashing and swirling like tempestuous storm waves. Gasps echoed through the room as disbelief painted the faces of those gathered. Fury flickered in their eyes, a tempest brewing beneath the surface. Others leaned in, their eyes ablaze with a ravenous thirst for the unfolding spectacle. With a heavy heart and trembling hands, the pastor stepped forward, the weight of the world pressing down upon his shoulders. "Perhaps this is not the proper time," he began, his voice trembling with an urgency that hung heavy in the air. "It is precisely the moment," I declared, my voice a whisper yet forged with unyielding steel. "As you all settled into your seats, I was abandoned, left to stand alone in the shadows of your indifference. In the midst of your meticulous planning, a haunting truth lingers. Not a soul thought to consult me, his devoted wife, about his final wishes. But Mark was acutely aware that this moment could unfold. In a moment of intense revelation, he inscribed it with trembling hands. I raised the first page, trembling with anticipation, as if it held the secrets of the universe within its fragile fibres. Rain pounded against the window, a relentless drumroll, as if the very heavens held their breath, anticipating the weight of my next utterance. Clara's mother hissed with intensity, "Sit down." Yet, I remained utterly still. As I opened the pages, a tempest of words surged forth, pulling me into a world unknown, where every line whispered secrets and every chapter held the weight of destiny. "To my cherished family, the will has commenced, unveiling secrets that will shatter our very foundations." Mark's handwriting loomed ominously beneath the lawyer's cold, typed lines, a stark contrast that whispered secrets of betrayal and desperation. "If you are hearing this, it signifies my departure from this realm, yet the truth remains unshaken. Honor my wife, for she is the very essence of my existence, and wherever she treads, I shall follow, unwavering and resolute. Gasping echoes filled the air once more. From the shadows, a sudden cough erupted, piercing the tense silence like a gunshot, sending ripples of shock through the crowd. I pressed on, the words cascading forth like a torrent from a river I had traversed countless times in the labyrinth of my thoughts. But then, as if the universe conspired to unveil a hidden truth, my eyes fell upon a line that had eluded my grasp, the very moment Mark compelled me to swear I would read it. The words crashed down with the ferocity of a storm, leaving no room for escape. Let it be known, in the shadow of my final farewell, that any soul who dares to cast a shadow of disrespect upon my beloved wife shall find themselves stripped of their claim to my legacy, their share of my estate forever lost in the abyss of their folly. The church plunged into an eerie silence, a heavy stillness enveloping the air like a shroud. The candle flame crackled ominously, each pop echoing like a heartbeat in the stillness of the room. All gazes snapped to Clara, then darted to her mother, sweeping over each cousin and friend who had settled in their seats while I remained standing, a lone figure in a sea of scrutiny. Faces drained of colour, the pastor's jaw dropped in disbelief. I felt my heart come to a sudden halt, then surge with a frantic intensity. Mark had not merely requested kindness. He had demanded it, as if the very fabric of his existence depended on it. He had woven a sinister snare for the heartless. I cast my eyes upon the next paragraph, and what unfolded before me sent a tremor through my very core. My voice trembled, a fragile whisper breaking the silence, yet I forced the words to escape my lips. In a twist of fate, should any individual dare to forfeit their share, that very portion shall dramatically transfer to. My throat constricted, a vice of dread tightening its grip. It would shatter the very foundations of existence for each soul gathered here. I swallowed hard, my heart pounding as I surveyed the sea of suddenly terrified faces around me. In that electrifying moment, the front doors exploded open with a thunderous crash. A mysterious figure, cloaked in a drenched trench coat, burst through the door, clutching a briefcase that mirrored the deep blue of the will's seal, as if fate itself had arrived in the storm. Water pooled ominously at his feet, a silent harbinger of chaos yet to unfold. He raised his head slowly, and there he was, Mr. Dalton, Mark's personal lawyer, a figure no one had dared to summon into this unfolding chaos. His gaze pierced through me, a storm brewing in his eyes as he uttered the words, "Please, stop reading." The air thickened with tension, each syllable hanging like a dark cloud, foreboding and heavy. "Behold!" An updated copy emerges from the shadows, its terms tightening like a noose around the unsuspecting. The stakes have never been higher. Paralyzed by an unseen force, my gaze locked onto the ominous briefcase, a harbinger of secrets yet to be unveiled. The congregation pivoted in unison, their necks contorting like a field of sunflowers in a desperate pursuit of the blazing sun. Clara's fingers tightened around her pearls, her heart racing as the weight of the moment crashed down upon her. The pastor recoiled, a storm of doubt swirling within him. Mr. Dalton pressed on, his voice a thunderous echo in the charged atmosphere. In a haunting twist of fate, Mark etched his name upon the paper just hours before the shadows claimed him. Only I possess the original, a treasure cloaked in secrecy and desire. And it declares, I clutched the lectern, my heart thundering in my chest, each beat so fierce that the flickering candle flame quivered in response. My voice soared, piercing through the suffocating haze of murmurs that surrounded me. Then, I dared you to open it. Let every syllable pierce the silence, echoing through the air like a thunderclap. The lawyer's head jerked in a sharp nod, the metallic clasp snapping shut with a chilling finality. The room was a cauldron of tension, every heartbeat echoing like a drum as he plunged his hand into the depths of uncertainty. Just as he reached for the document, the solitary candle flickered and extinguished, casting the altar into an abyss of darkness, shrouding Mark's coffin in an eerie gloom. A child, lost in the shadows, let out a heart-wrenching whimper that pierced the silence of the night. The organ let out a mournful groan, the organist's elbow skimming across the keys in a moment of sheer disbelief. unleashing a haunting chord that reverberated through the air like a sinister warning bell. A bone-chilling sensation coursed through me, igniting a primal fear that clawed at my very soul. In that suffocating silence, a thought pierced through the darkness, igniting a tempest within me. What if Mark's final update unveiled a shocking confession that would leave us all reeling? My fingers gripped the lectern edge with a fierce intensity. Mr. Dalton's hand trembled as he lifted the envelope, the weight of its contents hanging heavy in the air, a silent harbinger of the chaos that was about to unfold. Deeper shades of blue, shrouded in mystery. Weightier. He began to utter the words, tension crackling in the air around him. But then, a thunderous crash erupted from the balcony above, shattering the silence like glass. A framed photo from Mark's college days plummeted, the glass shattering violently against the unforgiving stone floor below, shards exploding like a shower of tiny diamonds, each piece a testament to a moment lost. The congregation erupted in a cacophony of terror, their bodies instinctively diving for cover. My heart raced, a wild drumbeat echoing in my ears as the photo tumbled through the air, landing perilously close to Clara's feet, the glass shards cruelly tearing into her luxurious fur coat. Her gaze pierced through the air, a tempest of fear and loathing swirling in those wide, unblinking eyes. But before a single soul could stir, the lawyer unleashed 3 words that sent a chilling wave through the entire church, freezing every heart in its wake. It reveals her name, a thunderous proclamation that echoes through the silence, shattering the calm with its weighty significance. His finger pierced the air, a dagger aimed directly at my heart. I parted my lips, yet silence enveloped me like a shroud. Rain lashed down with a ferocity that shook the very foundations. The wind howled like a banshee, rattling the stained glass as if it were a fragile soul in torment, and somewhere in the distance, a siren's wail pierced the night, echoing the chaos that loomed just beyond the threshold. Yet within the hallowed walls of the church, a heavy silence enveloped the congregation. Not a soul stirred, not a breath escaped their lips, all poised on the precipice of revelation, desperate to uncover the true meaning behind her name. And that was the moment when Mr. Dalton shattered the seal, unleashing a torrent of chaos that would forever alter the course of their lives. The envelope burst open with a dramatic gasp, echoing the final exhale of a long-buried secret. And every soul in that room leaned in, a mix of dread and anticipation swirling in the air. As he revealed the last will of my husband, pages dense as a novel, their edges marked in crimson by the lawyer's meticulous touch. With a dramatic rustle, the first page surrendered itself, and Mr. Dalton plunged into the depths of the opening sentence, the air thick with anticipation. But before the words could pierce the air, the heavy front doors crashed shut with a ferocious gust, the echo reverberating like a gunshot. Lights flickered ominously, and the candle extinguished itself once more, plunging us into darkness. In the suffocating silence, his voice sliced through like a knife. I, Mark Henry Lawson, in full possession of my faculties, hereby bequeath all that I possess to. The lights flickered and extinguished, an abyss consuming the church. Sharp intakes of breath echoed through the darkness. My heart thundered in my chest, a wild beast ready to break free, and I feared it might just seize its final moment. A piercing scream shattered the silence, sharp and high, and in an instant the following words were swallowed by the encroaching darkness. In the suffocating shadows of the church, an eerie silence hung heavy in the air, as if the very walls were holding their breath, waiting for the inevitable storm to break. For an agonizingly extended moment, the air hung thick with tension, and not a single soul dared to stir. The silence that followed the scream hung heavy in the air, a palpable tension where every heartbeat echoed, and breaths were suspended like fragile balloons on the verge of explosion. The flickering emergency light near the exit cast long, eerie shadows across the pews, transforming familiar faces into haunting spectres of the night. A handful of souls murmured desperate prayers, their voices trembling in the heavy air, as if the very heavens were listening, poised on the edge of fate. Others gripped their handbags with white-knuckled intensity or clung desperately to the arm of the person beside them, their eyes wide with fear and anticipation. Then, with a haunting slowness, the lights flickered back to life. Flickering in the shadows, a single bulb ignites, its glow timid yet defiant. One by one they awaken, casting a fierce light that pierces the darkness, each illuminating the scene with an intensity that builds to a breathtaking crescendo. And as the blinding lights flickered back to life, every gaze snapped to Mr. Dalton, a tension crackling in the air like electricity. He remained at the forefront, paralyzed, clutching the will as if it were a lifeline in a tempest of uncertainty. His glasses dangled precariously at the edge of his nose, while his mouth gaped in a silent gasp, a portrait of disbelief frozen in time. His lips trembled, caught in the haunting echo of Mark's final sentence, a chilling whisper that lingered in the air like a ghostly spectre. The air was thick with tension, a palpable silence enveloping the room as the moment before the blackout hung like a heavy shroud. Eyes widened, hearts raced, and everyone stood frozen, too stunned to draw a breath, caught in the grip of impending darkness. Clara, with a voice trembling like the calm before a storm, was the first to break the suffocating silence. Her voice pierced the stillness, sharp and chilling as a blade of ice. "You said it names her," she hissed, her finger stabbing the air, aimed straight at me. "Behold, the words await your gaze." At this very moment, her voice trembled, yet it resonated with a fierce intensity, the very same voice that had once declared, "Mark deserves better than someone like you," the very voice that ensnared his family, weaving a tale that painted me merely as a nurse who stumbled upon fortune. "Mr." Dalton's head dipped slightly, a mere whisper of acknowledgement that hung heavy in the air. Indeed, it reveals her name, and I am determined to voice every single word as Mark commanded. But if I may, he cast a sweeping gaze around the room, as if searching for hidden truths lurking in the shadows. "Once more, I implore all to reclaim their seats, and perhaps, just perhaps, someone might muster the decency to grant his wife the rightful position she so deserves at the forefront." The silence shattered like glass, echoing through the void. None would dare to defy him. He was the lawyer, the one who held the fate of many in his hands, a figure cloaked in both power and peril. He wielded the power now, a force that crackled in the air, electrifying every moment with a palpable tension. The world held its breath, teetering on the edge of chaos, as he embraced his newfound dominion. With a sudden burst of urgency, an older cousin darted across the room. A family friend rose from the shadows, their hands slicing through the air, beckoning me to step into the unknown. With the lectern gripped tightly in my hands, I took a deliberate step back, my heart racing as I made my way to the pew that had finally been cleared for my arrival. Not a single eye dared to stray from my face. I sat, spine rigid, chin defiantly raised. My hands quivered with a subtle intensity, yet I concealed them beneath the dark, flowing silk of my lap, as if hiding a tempest within. Mr. Dalton's throat rumbled ominously, a prelude to the storm that was about to unfold. As I was saying before the thunderous interruption, "Behold, this is the final, legally signed and witnessed last will and testament of none other than Mr. Mark Henry Lawson, a document steeped in gravity and consequence." A sudden rustle swept through the room, jackets shifting like whispers in the dark, breaths escaping in a tense symphony of anticipation. With bated breath, the crowd leaned forward once more, anticipation crackling in the air. In a moment that echoes through the very fabric of existence, I, Mark Henry Lawson, with clarity of thought and purpose, declare my final wishes. I bequeath the entirety of my estate, every brick of the house in Belridge, the sun-kissed sands of the Malibu Beach property, the depths of all investment accounts, and my significant 40% stake in Lawson Biotech, to my beloved wife, Naomi Lawson. Let this testament stand as a testament to love and legacy, forever entwined in the annals of time. He gazed upward, his heart pounding, as if the very heavens were about to reveal their secrets. Silence hung in the air, thick and suffocating, as if the world held its breath, waiting for the storm to break. Silence hangs heavy in the air, an unsettling stillness that sends shivers down the spine. Then, what happens next? The air thickens with tension, and the stakes rise higher than ever before. The silence is deafening, as if the world itself is holding its breath, waiting for the inevitable twist that will change everything. What will unfold in this moment of uncertainty? The answer hangs in the balance, poised to shatter the calm like glass underfoot. Clara froze, her body rigid as if struck by a bullet, the shock coursing through her veins. Her face, once pale as a ghost, ignited with a fiery crimson hue. That is utterly inconceivable. You revealed it to me. You claimed you were nowhere to be found the night he took his last breath. I was there, caught in the whirlwind of fate, a mere pawn in the grand tapestry of existence. I declared it with unwavering certainty. She weaves a web of deceit. Clara's voice erupted like thunder, piercing the silence with a fierce intensity. She turned her back on him, leaving him to face the darkness alone. I did. Oh, the weight of that decision hangs heavy in the air, a thunderous echo of consequences yet to unfold. In a moment that could alter the very fabric of existence, I dared to change his oxygen. With trembling hands, I brought the steaming bowl to his lips, the rich aroma swirling in the air like a haunting memory. I fed him soup, each spoonful a desperate attempt to nourish not just his body, but the fragile thread of hope that lingered between us. I found myself perched beside him, the air thick with unspoken tension. You sat by his side, I exclaimed, after you ruthlessly banished me from the house. That sent a tremor through the entire room. All eyes snapped back to Clara. A whirlwind of emotions swirling in the air, curiosity ignited in some, confusion etched on others' faces, and a handful cast glances heavy with pity. "She's twisting everything!" Clara screamed, her voice echoing with desperation. Mark would never betray us like that. He loved us. Oh, how fiercely, how passionately, as if the very fabric of the universe depended on it. He declared, with a voice trembling on the edge of revelation, that I was akin to his second sister. Mr. Dalton raised one hand, exuding an air of calmness that belied the storm brewing beneath the surface. But wait, there's more. The story unfolds, revealing layers yet unseen. With a trembling hand, he turned the page, the air thick with anticipation, as if the very fabric of fate hung in the balance. Once more, the air thickened with tension as every heart stopped in unison. Should I find myself the victim of cruelty, betrayal, or cast away from the embrace of my beloved in my last moments, I demand that justice be delivered with an iron fist. I implore that my wife be granted the chance to unveil the truth before the world, for I am acutely aware of the dark secrets they will desperately attempt to conceal. Whispers surged once more, slicing through the air like a knife. Even the pastor, with a furtive glance, leaned in slightly, as if the very air crackled with unspoken tension. "I want the world to know," Mr. Dalton declared, his voice trembling with intensity, "that my final week was shrouded in silence, not by choice, but by the cruel hand of fate. They plunged me into darkness, a haze of sedation, without a whisper of consent. My autonomy stripped away. I was left to grapple with the chilling reality of my powerlessness. My phone was snatched away, leaving me in a whirlwind of disbelief and despair. My wife, Naomi, stood at the threshold, her heart pounding, as the door loomed ominously between us, denying her entry to the sanctuary we once shared. Gasping echoes through the air. Genuine gasps echoed through the air. In a moment that seemed to stretch into eternity, a woman, her heart heavy with unspoken words, let her hymnal slip from her trembling fingers, the sound of its fall echoing like a thunderclap in the hushed sanctuary. Another man seethed, his words a venomous whisper in the shadows. Clara collapsed into her seat, the weight of the world crashing down around her. "No," she whispered, her voice trembling with an unspoken dread. "No." He was engulfed in a whirlwind of confusion. He stood there, words tumbling from his lips, oblivious to the chaos they would unleash. But Mr. Dalton had more to reveal, his intentions lurking in the shadows, waiting to strike with the force of a tempest. "My wife is not perfect," the will said. "But she has never lied to me. She stood beside me when I had nothing, and because of her, I found purpose in building a company, not just a fortune. She earned this. She earned all of it." I blinked fast, trying to keep my tears from falling in front of them. I wasn't going to give them that. Not now. I kept my jaw tight, my body still. But then came the final page. In the case that any member of my family attempts to contest this will, I leave them with only one item, a letter. A letter explaining exactly why they are no longer included. And I have named a trusted friend to deliver these if necessary. Mr. Dalton reached into his briefcase again and pulled out a bundle of sealed letters. He read each name aloud, one by one. Clara Jenkins, Mrs. Harriet Lawson, Peter Lawson, Karen Fields, Daniel Fields. Each name landed like a slap in the room. Each letter was placed gently in the hands of the person named, their faces twisted, some in horror, some in disbelief. Clara didn't even take hers. It sat on the bench beside her, untouched. Then Dalton turned to me. And for Mrs. Naomi Lawson, a personal note from your husband. He held out a small white envelope with my name in Mark's handwriting. My hands trembled as I reached for it. I didn't open it right away. I stared at the name, Naomi. The last time he wrote it, the last time he'd touched a pen. But before I could tear it open, Clara stood again, shaking now, wild. "This is a trick," she screamed. "She must have forced him. This is fake. This isn't real." And then she did something no one expected. She ran right up the aisle, pushing past guests, knocking over a candle holder and nearly hitting a child. Her shoes clacked violently on the stone floor as she threw the church doors open and disappeared into the storm outside. No one followed her. Mr. Dalton watched her go, then turned back calmly and said, "Shall I continue with the final details of the trust?" But my voice stopped him. "No," I said. I finally opened the envelope in my lap. Inside was a single card, and in Mark's unmistakable handwriting, it said just one thing: "You were always my seat." And suddenly, all the anger, all the pain, all the cold shoulders and locked doors, they melted into something warm and sharp, like sunlight through broken glass. I pressed the card to my chest, and just as I closed my eyes for one long moment of peace, the back door creaked open again. Footsteps echoed in from the rain, and when I turned around, I saw someone I never expected to see walk into the church. Someone who had no business being at this funeral at all. Someone who might destroy everything Mark had just left me. He stood in the doorway, soaked to the bone, water dripping from his sleeves and boots. The wind pushed past him like it wanted to speak first. His hair was longer than I remembered, messy, damp, curling around his ears, and the shadows under his eyes told a story I hadn't heard yet. In his right hand was a black duffel bag. In his left, a folder. For a moment I couldn't breathe. It was Thomas, Mark's younger brother. The one who vanished 7 years ago, after their last bitter fight. The one who missed our wedding, the one who was disowned. Gasps rippled through the church again. Clara's mother, Harriet, clutched her pearls like she'd seen a ghost. Peter, Mark's cousin, muttered something and actually ducked his head. Everyone had a reaction. Except me. I just stared. Thomas looked older, harder, but his eyes still had that strange mix of sorrow and fire, like he was always half regretful, half ready to set everything on fire. He didn't say anything at first, just stepped down the aisle, each step quiet but heavy, like he was walking through memory. Mr. Dalton adjusted his glasses, surprised. "Mr. Thomas Lawson?" Thomas nodded once. "I came because of the letter." Dalton blinked. "You received it?" Thomas gave a small smile, sad and bitter. "He sent it to a P.O. box I forgot I still had. I got it 3 days ago. Thought it was junk mail until I saw his handwriting." People murmured louder now, some standing slightly to get a better view. Even the pastor looked shaken. Thomas turned to me then. "Naomi." It was the first time he'd said my name in almost a decade. "Can we talk?" He added softer now. "Just us." My hands clenched the card Mark had written me. I shook my head slowly. "Now? After everything?" He looked down, then back up. "Please, Mr. Dalton cleared his throat. I'm sorry to interrupt, but if this concerns the will— It does, Thomas said, lifting the folder, because there's something in here that Mark never told anyone. Not even you. The silence that followed hit like a punch. Everyone froze. What do you mean? I asked, standing. Thomas looked around the church at the shocked faces, then back at me. Not here. You deserve to hear it alone. I owe you that. I hesitated. Every eye was on me. Was this a trap? Was he here to take what Mark gave me? Or was it something deeper? Mr. Dalton spoke carefully. Mrs. Lawson, it's your choice. But if I may, I suggest you be cautious. This will is binding. Nothing in that folder can undo it unless— He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. Unless it proves fraud. I took a slow breath, then nodded once. We'll speak in the side room, I said. Thomas nodded and followed me through the small door near the pulpit that led to the church's prayer chamber. I heard whispers behind me explode the moment the door clicked shut. Inside, the room was quiet, dim, lit only by the stained glass window that threw soft colours on the old wooden floor. I turned to face him, arms crossed. Say what you came to say. He opened the folder, pulled out a single sheet of paper and handed it to me. It was a medical document, Mark's signature. Thomas watched me read it. I looked up slowly. What is this? It's proof, Thomas said quietly. Mark knew something was wrong. He came to see me a month before he died, said he didn't trust Clara, said he was being drugged, said he wanted me to hold on to this in case he couldn't finish what he started. I blinked. Finish what? The new will, Thomas said. The one you just read? That wasn't the first version. It was the second. The first one. Left everything to Clara. I stepped back. What? Thomas nodded. She convinced him to write it when he first got sick. Said you'd abandon him. Said you'd use his money for revenge. She played him and he believed her for a while. But then he changed his mind. He opened the duffel bag and pulled out a small voice recorder. He told me to record everything when he visited. You should hear what he said, Naomi. About you, about the truth. I stared at the recorder. If that's true, I whispered, why didn't he tell me himself? Thomas lowered his eyes, because he thought he'd have more time. He was scared, and he didn't want to drag you into the fight until he was sure. Tears burned my eyes, but I held them back. Thomas pressed play. Mark's voice filled the small room, raspy but clear. I made a mistake. Naomi. She never stopped fighting for me. But Clara, she's got poison in her. She's been slipping pills into my tea. I found out too late. If something happens to me, Thomas, make sure Naomi gets what I truly wanted for her. Not just the money, my name, my story, everything. The recording stopped. Thomas looked at me, silent. My hands shook. I couldn't speak. He stepped forward and gently set the recorder on the table between us. I'm not here to take anything, he said. I'm here to finish what my brother asked me to do. And then he reached into his coat pocket and pulled out something else. Something small, black and velvet. A box. He opened it. Inside was a ring. Not just any ring. It was Mark's ring. His real wedding ring. The one that had gone missing 2 months before he died. The one Clara told everyone had been lost in the hospital. Thomas smiled faintly. He gave it to me, asked me to keep it safe. He said you'd know what it meant. I stared at it, heart aching. Then suddenly the side door burst open. Harriet Lawson stood there, eyes wide, breathing fast. Naomi, come quick. It's Clara. My stomach dropped. What happened? She came back, Harriet said. But she's not. Right. She's in the middle of the church, screaming. What? I gasped. She's saying Mark is alive. Harriet's voice dropped to a whisper, and that he faked everything. My blood ran cold. Thomas and I locked eyes. I rushed toward the door. Because whatever Clara was doing out there was about to burn the whole truth alive. The doors swung open before I could even reach them. Screams echoed down the corridor, bouncing off the stone walls like trapped ghosts. I rushed into the main chapel, heart racing, heels clicking faster with every step. And there she was, Clara, standing in front of Mark's coffin. Hair soaked from the rain, makeup streaked across her face, her eyes wild and unfocused. Her fur coat hung crooked on one shoulder, and her heels looked like they were about to give out beneath her trembling frame. She was laughing. But it wasn't joy. It was jagged, broken laughter, like someone cracking apart from the inside. "They think he's dead," she cried out, pointing at the coffin. "They think this is real, that he's in there." Gasps filled the church. "Clara, stop," Harriet hissed, rushing to her daughter's side. "No," Clara screamed, yanking her arm away. "You all think you know the truth. You think she knows him better than me. You don't know anything." People rose from the pews. Some edged away nervously. Others stayed frozen in place. Thomas stepped in behind me, and I could feel his presence. Calm, tense, watching. Clara stumbled closer to the casket. Her hand slammed down on the wood. "He's not dead. He's not. He can't be. I saw him. I swear I saw him 3 nights ago, outside my window, watching me." Whispers surged like a wave. Someone muttered, "She's lost it." A woman clutched her rosary and backed away, whispering prayers under her breath. "Clara," I said softly, walking toward her. "You're not well. You need to sit down." "Don't come near me," she shouted, turning on me. "You think you won, don't you? You think that will, that letter, that act, you think it makes you some hero." "I didn't do anything," I said gently. "Mark did." Her face twisted. "Liar." She spun toward the casket again. "You all want proof? You want the truth? Fine. Let's open it." Gasps exploded around the room. "What?" someone whispered. "She's not serious." "I'll show you," Clara spat, scrambling at the casket latches. "You want to see the body? Let's see it." The pastor stepped forward, horrified. "Clara, no, this is sacred." But she had already unclasped one latch. The click echoed like thunder. "Step away," Mr. Dalton barked, his voice sharper than anyone had heard all day. "If you open that casket, you're committing a crime. Right now, in front of witnesses." Clara froze. Her hand trembled above the second latch. Her breath came in sharp bursts. "I saw him," she whispered, tears sliding down her face. "He was there, just watching me. He had a coat, that old green one, and a limp, his limp. My wife, a flawed masterpiece, the will proclaimed with a chilling finality. Yet, she has never uttered a single falsehood to me. She stood beside me, a beacon of unwavering loyalty, when I was engulfed in the shadows of despair, stripped of everything I once held dear. And because of her, I discovered a burning passion to forge a company, not merely to amass wealth. She fought for this, clawing her way through the shadows of doubt and despair. This was her moment, and she had earned every agonizing second of it. She fought tooth and nail for every single ounce of it. I blinked rapidly, a desperate attempt to stave off the flood of tears threatening to spill before their eyes. Never. I would never surrender that to them. Not now. The air crackles with tension, a moment suspended in time, as the weight of the unspoken hangs heavy between us. The world outside fades, and all that remains is this electrifying pause, a heartbeat away from chaos. I clenched my jaw, every muscle in my body frozen in a tense silence. But then, the final page arrived, shrouded in an air of suspense and foreboding. Should any member of my family dare to challenge this will, I bequeath them but a single token, a letter, steeped in the weight of my final wishes. A letter that unveils the heart-wrenching truth behind their exclusion. A revelation that shatters the silence and echoes with the weight of unspoken words. And I have chosen a confidant, a trusted ally, to bear this weighty message should the need arise. With a trembling hand, Mr. Dalton plunged into the depths of his briefcase once more, emerging with a tightly bound bundle of sealed letters, each one a harbinger of secrets waiting to be unleashed. With a voice trembling on the edge of revelation, he pronounced each name, drawing out the tension, one by one. Clara Jenkins, the enigmatic Mrs. Harriet Lawson, the brooding Peter Lawson, the fierce Karen Fields, and the mysterious Daniel Fields. What tangled webs they weave. Each name struck the air with the force of a thunderclap, reverberating through the tense silence of the room. Each letter was thrust into the trembling hands of the named, their expressions contorted, some twisted in horror, others frozen in disbelief. Clara, in a moment of defiance, let hers slip away, untouched and unclaimed. It loomed ominously on the bench beside her, a silent testament to the chaos that had unfolded. Then, with a sudden intensity, Dalton pivoted towards me. And for Mrs. Naomi Lawson, a message from your husband, shrouded in mystery and laden with unspoken words. With trembling hands, he extended a small white envelope, the ink of my name scrawled in Mark's unmistakable handwriting, a harbinger of secrets yet to unfold. My hands quaked with an intensity that sent shivers down my spine as I dared to reach for it. With a heart pounding like a drum, I hesitated, the weight of the moment pressing down on me. I didn't dare to open it immediately. My eyes were locked onto the name, a chilling weight settling in my chest. Naomi! It was the final moment, the last time his fingers danced upon the cold surface of a pen, sealing his fate in ink. But just as I was about to rip it apart, Clara rose once more, trembling, a tempest of chaos within her. "This is a trick!" she screamed, her voice echoing with desperation and disbelief. She had to have twisted his arm, leaving him no choice but to comply. "This is a fabrication, a mere illusion cloaked in deceit. This is not reality." And then, in a moment that shattered the very fabric of reality, she did something no one could have ever anticipated. She sprinted down the aisle, a whirlwind of chaos, shoving guests aside, toppling a candle holder that clattered ominously to the ground, narrowly missing a child who gasped in shock. With a thunderous clash, her shoes echoed against the cold stone floor as she flung the church doors wide, vanishing into the tempest that raged beyond. Alone she stood, the silence echoing around her, a chilling reminder that no one dared to follow her into the abyss. Mr. Dalton's gaze lingered on her retreating figure, a tempest of emotions swirling within him. With a composed facade, he pivoted, his voice steady yet laced with an undercurrent of tension. "Shall I continue with the final details of the trust?" But my voice pierced through the silence, halting him in his tracks. "No," I said, my voice trembling with the weight of the moment. With trembling hands, I tore open the envelope resting ominously in my lap. Within the depths of the enclosure lay a solitary card, its presence heavy with unspoken secrets, and in Mark's unmistakable handwriting, it proclaimed a singular, haunting message. "You were forever my throne, my place of solace amidst the chaos of life." And then, in an instant, the fury, the anguish, the icy glares and bolted entrances, they dissolved into a sensation both fierce and tender, akin to rays of sunlight piercing through shattered glass. I clutched the card to my chest, heart racing, as if it held the very essence of my fate. And just as I surrendered to the sweet embrace of tranquility, the back door groaned open once more, shattering the silence like a thunderclap in the night. Footsteps reverberated through the downpour, each sound a haunting reminder of what lurked in the shadows. And as I pivoted, my heart raced there, in the doorway of the church, stood a figure I had never imagined would cross my path again. A figure, utterly out of place, stood amidst the mourners, a spectre haunting a solemn gathering where they had no rightful claim to be. Someone, a harbinger of chaos, had just departed, leaving behind the potential to obliterate everything Mark held dear. He loomed in the doorway, drenched to the core, rivulets of water cascading from his sleeves and boots, a haunting figure against the dim light. The wind surged around him, a restless force, as if it yearned to unleash its secrets before he could utter a single word. His hair cascaded longer than I recalled, a wild, damp tangle curling around his ears, while the deep shadows beneath his eyes whispered secrets of a tale yet untold. In his right hand, he clutched a black duffel bag, its ominous presence hinting at secrets untold and shadows lurking just beyond the light. In his left hand, a folder loomed ominously. In that fleeting instant, the air was stolen from my lungs, leaving me gasping in the suffocating silence. It was none other than Thomas, the younger brother of Mark, stepping into the spotlight of fate. The one who disappeared into the shadows 7 years ago, following that fateful explosive confrontation. The one who dared to miss our wedding. The forsaken soul, cast aside and shunned by all. Gasps echoed through the church once more, a wave of disbelief crashing over the congregation. Clara's mother, Harriet, gripped her pearls as if the very spectre of dread had materialized before her eyes. Peter, Mark's cousin, whispered a secret so dark that he instinctively ducked his head, as if the very air around him was charged with danger. Every soul trembled, every heart raced, as the shocking revelation pierced through the air like a thunderclap, igniting a whirlwind of emotions that could not be contained. But not me. I stood frozen, my eyes wide, unable to look away. Thomas stood there, a figure weathered by time, his features etched with the weight of unspoken battles. Yet, within the depths of his gaze, a tempest brewed a haunting blend of sorrow and an unquenchable fire that flickered defiantly against the shadows of his past. He stood there, a tempest of emotions swirling within him, caught in a perpetual dance of regret and reckless abandon, as if the very world around him was just waiting for the spark to ignite the chaos he longed to unleash. He remained silent at first, descending the aisle with each step resonating like thunder, a haunting echo of the past that weighed upon him, as if he were traversing the very fabric of memory itself. Mr. Dalton, with a tremor of disbelief, adjusted his glasses, his eyes wide with shock. Mr. Thomas Lawson. Thomas nodded. A single, deliberate motion that echoed with unspoken weight. I arrived, driven by the haunting words of the letter. Dalton's eyes widened in disbelief. Did you get it? Thomas's lips curled into a fleeting smile, a haunting blend of sorrow and bitterness that lingered in the air like a ghostly whisper. He dispatched it to a P.O. box, a relic of my past that I had completely forgotten existed. 3 days ago, it came into my possession, a moment that would change everything. It appeared to be nothing more than junk mail, a mere nuisance in the daily grind, until my eyes fell upon the unmistakable strokes of his handwriting, igniting a whirlwind of emotions within me. Whispers erupted into a cacophony, as bodies shifted and strained, desperate for a glimpse of the unfolding spectacle. Even the pastor appeared utterly rattled. Thomas pivoted sharply, his gaze piercing through the air, locking onto mine with an intensity that sent shivers down my spine. Naomi. After nearly 10 long years, the sound of my name escaped his lips, shattering the silence like a thunderclap in the night. Shall we engage in a conversation? He spoke. His voice now a whisper, laced with an unexpected tenderness. Only we remain. My hands trembled as they gripped the card Mark had inscribed for me, the weight of his words heavy in the air. I shook my head, a slow, deliberate motion that echoed the weight of despair within me. At this very moment, after all that has transpired, he cast his gaze downward, as if the weight of the world pressed heavily upon his shoulders. Then retreat, step back into the shadows of uncertainty. By all means, I implore you. Mr. Dalton's throat rumbled ominously, a prelude to the storm that was about to unfold. Forgive my intrusion, but if this pertains to the will, it most certainly does, Thomas declared, raising the folder high, as if unveiling a dark secret. For within these walls lies a secret that Mark has kept buried, hidden from the world, a truth so explosive that it could shatter everything. Not even you. The silence that followed struck with the force of a devastating blow. Time stood still, a heavy silence enveloping the room as every breath was held in anticipation. What on earth are you implying? I demanded, rising to my feet. Thomas's gaze swept across the church, landing on the stunned faces that mirrored disbelief, before snapping back to me with a weighty intensity. Nowhere to be found. You must confront this truth in solitude. I owe you that. The weight of my words hangs in the air, a confession trembling on the edge of revelation. My heart raced as uncertainty gripped me, a storm of doubt swirling within. I hesitated. All gazes were fixed upon me, a heavy silence enveloping the room, as if the very air held its breath in anticipation. Could this be a sinister trap, lurking in the shadows, waiting to ensnare the unsuspecting? Was he here to seize what Mark bestowed upon me? But was there a darkness lurking beneath the surface? Mr. Dalton's words hung in the air, each syllable dripping with tension and foreboding. Mrs. Lawson, the weight of the world rests upon your shoulders. The choice is yours, and the consequences loom like shadows in the night. Yet, if I may interject, I urge you to tread carefully. This will is irrevocable, a decree etched in stone, unyielding and absolute. Nothing in that folder can reverse the fate that awaits, unless... He left the words hanging in the air, a gaping void of unspoken truth. He was not bound by obligation. Unless the veil of deceit is torn asunder. I inhaled deeply, the air heavy with anticipation. Then, with a single, deliberate nod, the weight of the moment hung heavy in the air. We'll speak in the side room, I declared, the weight of my words hanging in the air like a storm cloud ready to burst. With a grave nod, Thomas trailed behind me as we slipped through the narrow door beside the pulpit, venturing into the shadowy confines of the church's prayer chamber. Whispers erupted behind me, a cacophony of secrets unleashed the instant the door clicked shut. Inside, the room lay shrouded in an eerie silence, dimly illuminated by the stained glass window that cast haunting hues upon the weathered wooden floor. I pivoted sharply, my arms folding defiantly across my chest, a storm brewing in my gaze. Speak your truth. Unleash the words that tremble on the edge of your lips. With trembling hands, he pried open the folder, revealing a solitary sheet of paper that seemed to pulse with secrets. He extended it toward me, the weight of unspoken words hanging in the air between us. It was a medical document, bearing the unmistakable mark of Mark's signature, a harbinger of fate. Thomas's eyes bore into me as I turned the pages, the tension thickening with every word I absorbed. I lifted my gaze, each inch a battle against the weight of the world. What is this? It's proof, Thomas whispered, his voice trembling with the weight of revelation. Mark felt the weight of an unseen storm brewing within the shadows of his mind, a chilling certainty that something was dreadfully amiss. He appeared before me, a mere month before his tragic end. He declared, with a voice heavy with betrayal, that Clara was unworthy of his trust. He claimed he was being poisoned, his mind slipping away into the shadows of deceit. He declared, with a gravity that sent chills down my spine, that I must clutch this tightly, for if he were to falter in his quest, it would be left to me to carry the weight of his unfinished business. I blinked, my heart racing as the world around me shifted in an instant. Finish what, you ask? The air thickens with tension, the question hanging like a storm cloud ready to burst. What remains undone, lurking in the shadows, waiting for the final act to unfold? The answer teeters on the edge of revelation, a cliffhanger that demands resolution. What indeed shall be completed in this gripping tale of uncertainty? The new will, Thomas declared, his voice trembling with a mix of dread and anticipation. The very one you just laid your eyes upon. It was not the initial version that graced the stage. No, it was the second, a twist in the tale that left all gasping in disbelief. And so it was. The first one, in a twist of fate, bequeathed it all to Clara. I recoiled, my heart pounding in my chest. What? Thomas nodded, a silent agreement hanging heavy in the air, as if the very weight of the moment threatened to shatter the fragile calm that enveloped them. In the throes of despair, she wielded her words like a weapon, compelling him to pen his thoughts as the shadows of illness loomed ever closer. You promised to leave him behind, to cast him aside like a forgotten relic of the past. declared you would wield his fortune as a weapon of vengeance. She wove her web of deceit, ensnaring him in a tapestry of lies, and for a fleeting moment he was a willing captive, entranced by her every word. But then, in a twist of fate, he changed his mind. With trembling hands he unzipped the duffel bag, revealing its dark secrets. As he pulled out a small voice recorder, the air thickened with tension, and the weight of unspoken truths hung heavily between them. He commanded me to capture every moment during his visit. In the heart of darkness, the truth lurks, a tempest waiting to be unleashed. It whispers secrets that could shatter the very fabric of reality, igniting a firestorm of revelations that will leave no soul unscathed. The truth, a double-edged sword, cuts deep, exposing the raw wounds of deception and betrayal. Will you? I gazed at the recorder, my heart pounding in my chest, as if it held the secrets of the universe within its cold metallic shell. Why, oh why, did he not have the courage to reveal the truth to me himself? Thomas cast his gaze downward, a storm of emotions brewing within him. He believed he had all the time in the world, but fate had other plans. Fear gripped him, a chilling shadow that clawed at his insides. He hesitated, torn by the weight of his decision, unwilling to pull you into the chaos until he could grasp the truth with certainty. My eyes, aflame with unshed tears, fought against the tide of emotion, but I steeled myself, refusing to let them fall. With trembling fingers, Thomas pressed play, the air thick with anticipation. Mark's voice erupted in the small room, a raspy echo that pierced the silence, yet rang with unsettling clarity. In a moment of weakness, I faltered. A grave error, one that echoes in the silence of my mind. Naomi. She battled relentlessly for my sake, never yielding, never faltering. But Clara, the very name hangs in the air, heavy with unspoken truths and a tempest of emotions, as if the universe itself holds its breath, waiting for the inevitable clash of fate and desire. She harbours a venomous secret within her very soul. She's been stealthily dropping those sinister pills into my tea, a treacherous act cloaked in the guise of warmth. It was a revelation that struck like lightning, a cruel twist of fate that came crashing down upon me when the hour was already too late. Should fate take a dark turn for me, Thomas, ensure that Naomi receives the heart's true desire I held for her. It's more than mere currency. Behold, the name that echoes through the corridors of fate. Behold, the tale of my existence. Every single thing. And then, in an instant, the recording ceased, leaving an echo of silence that hung heavy in the air. Thomas's gaze pierced through the air, heavy with unspoken words. My hands trembled with an intensity that felt like the very earth beneath me was quaking. Words failed me, trapped in the depths of my throat, a storm of silence raging within. With a deliberate motion, he advanced, placing the recorder on the table that lay like a chasm between us, its presence heavy with unspoken truths. "I'm not here to take anything," he declared, his voice trembling with intensity, as if the very air around him crackled with unspoken tension. "I'm here to fulfill the haunting promise my brother entrusted to me, a mission steeped in shadows and echoes of the past." And then, with a dramatic flourish, he plunged his hand into the depths of his coat pocket, retrieving something else that would change everything. In the dim light, a small black velvet object lay hidden, shrouded in mystery and intrigue, waiting to be discovered. A mysterious box, cloaked in shadows, beckons with an ominous allure, its secrets waiting to be unveiled. With trembling hands he pried it open, the air thick with anticipation. Within the depths of the box lay a ring, glimmering with an unsettling allure. Not merely a ring, but a harbinger of fate. It was Mark's ring, glinting ominously in the dim light, a silent witness to secrets untold and a past that refused to stay buried. His true wedding ring, a symbol of love and betrayal, glimmered ominously in the dim light, the one who vanished into thin air 2 months before his tragic demise. The very one Clara proclaimed to the world had vanished within the cold, sterile walls of the hospital. Thomas's smile flickered like a dying ember, barely illuminating the shadows that loomed around him. He thrust it into my hands, his eyes burning with urgency, demanding that I guard it with my very life. He declared, with a voice trembling on the edge of revelation, that you would grasp the weight of its meaning. I gazed at it, my heart twisted in agony. Then, in a heart-stopping moment, the side door exploded open. Harriet Lawson stood there, her eyes wide with disbelief, her breath coming in rapid gasps, as if the very air around her had turned to ice. "Naomi! Hurry!" The moment is upon us. It is Clara, the name that echoes through the shadows, a whisper of fate entwined with destiny. My stomach plummeted into an abyss of despair. What has transpired? "She returned," Harriet declared, her voice trembling with the weight of revelation. "But she is not, indeed." In the heart of the church, her voice pierces the silence, a desperate scream echoing through the hallowed halls. "What?" My breath caught in my throat. "She claims that Mark is alive." Harriet's voice fell to a haunting whisper, laden with secrets and shadows, and that he orchestrated an elaborate charade, deceiving everyone around him. My blood turned to ice. In that electrifying moment, Thomas and I locked eyes, a silent storm brewing between us. I bolted toward the door, heart pounding, breath quickening, as if the very air crackled with tension. For whatever Clara was orchestrating beyond those walls was on the brink of igniting the very essence of truth into an inferno. The doors burst open, a sudden and jarring revelation, just as I was about to touch the handle. Screams reverberated through the corridor, ricocheting off the cold stone walls like anguished spirits yearning for freedom. I burst into the main chapel, my heart pounding like a war drum, each click of my heels echoing the urgency of my frantic pace. And there she stood, a vision of chaos and allure, the air thick with tension as the world around her seemed to hold its breath. Clara. The name echoes through the shadows, a haunting whisper that stirs the very air around us. What secrets lie behind those eyes? What fate awaits her in this twisted tale? The tension thickens, and the stage is set for a revelation that could shatter everything, confronting the cold, unyielding reality of Mark's coffin. Hair drenched by the relentless downpour, makeup a chaotic smear across her face, her eyes ablaze with a wild, unfocused intensity. Her fur coat draped askew on one shoulder, a testament to the chaos surrounding her, while her heels wobbled precariously, threatening to collapse under the weight of her quaking form. Her laughter echoed through the air, a haunting melody that danced on the edge of despair. But it was not joy. No, it was something far darker, a shadow lurking in the corners of a seemingly bright moment. It was a jagged, broken laughter, echoing through the air like the sound of a soul fracturing, splintering into 1,000 pieces from the depths of despair. "They think he's dead," she wailed, her finger trembling as it jutted toward the coffin. "They believe this is the truth, that he is trapped within those walls." Gasping echoes reverberated through the hallowed halls of the church. "Clara, stop!" Harriet hissed, her voice a sharp whisper as she dashed to her daughter's side, urgency etched across her face. "No!" Clara screamed, wrenching her arm free with a desperate fury. "Do you truly believe you grasp the reality that lies before you? Do you truly believe she understands him more deeply than I do? Do you truly know nothing at all?" People surged from the pews, a wave of disbelief and tension electrifying the air. Some recoiled, their hearts pounding, eyes darting in fear. Others remained paralyzed, caught in a moment of sheer disbelief. Thomas loomed behind me, his presence a palpable force that sent shivers down my spine. Stillness hangs in the air, a taut wire of anticipation, eyes locked in a fierce gaze. Clara staggered forward, her heart pounding as she approached the ominous casket. Her hand crashed against the wood, a thunderous declaration echoing in the silence. "He's alive." "He is not. He simply cannot be. I saw him." The very moment our eyes locked, the world around us faded into a haunting silence, as if time itself held its breath. My heart raced, a thunderous drum echoing in the depths of my chest, each beat a desperate plea for clarity. Who was he? What dark secrets lay behind those piercing eyes? The air crackled, I swear. Just 3 nights ago, I caught a glimpse of him lurking outside my window, his eyes fixed on me, a chilling presence in the darkness. Whispers erupted, crashing like a tempestuous wave, each sound a harbinger of secrets untold. In a hushed whisper, someone dared to utter, "She's lost it." The words hung in the air, heavy with disbelief and intrigue. A woman, trembling with fear, clutched her rosary tightly, retreating into the shadows as she whispered desperate prayers, her voice barely audible, a haunting plea in the silence of the night. "Clara," I whispered, my footsteps echoing in the tense silence as I approached her. "Something is terribly amiss with you. You must take a seat, for what I am about to reveal will shake the very foundation of your understanding." "Don't come near me!" she screamed, her eyes blazing as she spun to face me. "You believe you've emerged victorious, don't you? Do you truly believe that will, that letter, that act, elevates you to the status of a hero?" "I did nothing," I exclaimed, my voice trembling with disbelief. "Mark did it. Oh, the audacity, the sheer nerve. What could possibly drive him to such a reckless act?" The air crackles with tension, and the world holds its breath, waiting for the fallout. What will happen next? Only time will tell, her face contorted in a grotesque display of anguish. "Deceiver!" With a sudden whirl, she turned back to the casket, her heart pounding in her chest. "Do you all crave evidence? Do you dare to seek the truth? Very well, let us unveil it." Gasps erupted like thunderclaps, reverberating through the room. "What?" someone gasped in disbelief. "She's merely playing a game, a facade of frivolity masking the storm within. Prepare yourself, for I shall unveil the truth before your very eyes." Clara's voice erupted in fury as she clawed at the casket latches, desperation fueling her frantic movements. "Do you dare to lay your eyes upon the lifeless form? Prepare yourself for the revelation." The pastor lunged forward, eyes wide with terror. "Clara, stop. This is a matter of the utmost sanctity." But she had already unleashed the first latch, a harbinger of chaos to come. The click reverberated through the air, a thunderous proclamation of fate. "Step away!" Mr. Dalton's voice sliced through the air, a fierce bark that echoed with an intensity no one had dared to imagine all day. To dare to lift the lid of that casket is to plunge into the depths of a forbidden abyss, a crime that echoes through the ages. At this very moment, with eyes upon us, the tension crackles in the air. Clara stood motionless, her heart pounding in her chest as the world around her seemed to hold its breath. Her hand quivered ominously above the second latch, a harbinger of the chaos that lay just beyond. Her breath came in jagged gasps, each one a desperate plea for air. "I saw him," she whispered, her voice trembling as tears cascaded down her cheeks. He stood there, a silent observer, his gaze piercing through the shadows, as if he held the weight of 1,000 secrets in his eyes. He wore that tattered green coat, the one that whispered tales of yesteryears, and he moved with a limp, a haunting reminder of battles fought and scars borne.